Hello everyone, welcome to Pro Tour Dragons Maze. It's the final weekend of the season. Rich Hagon, Brian David-Marshall with you. BDM, what's in store?
Well, we have the last set of the Return to Ravnica block to work with, and we have a lot of work to do. We have 16 rounds of Swiss here at Pro Tour Dragon Maze. Each day is going to start with 3 rounds of Dragon's Maze, Gate Crash, Return to Ravnica draft before ending in 5 rounds of full block constructed.
And eventually we get to the top 8, and what's the format there?
That's going to be block constructed as well. So, you know, the format that people have battled with for 10 rounds out of the 16.
Okay, so many races come to an end at the season. Are you going for Platinum, Gold, Silver, the Player of the Year, the Rookie of the Year, places World Magic Cup?
National Championship, World Magic Cup.
Absolutely, but how do you get there? With cards. Let's see some of the cards that might be in action this weekend. We're going to start with draft. And BDM, why have you chosen this group of 4 to get us going?
All right, you know, we've done 2 previous draft formats in this block. We've done triple Gate Crash and we've done triple Return to Ravnica. And in those formats, we saw a lot of super hyper aggressive decks. We saw Rakdos decks, something Spike Jester is going to fit into perfectly. I was a big fan of the Simic decks, and the Beetleform Mage is there's a great card for the top end of your curve.
Yeah, it says it's 2/2.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, it's a 4/4 flyer. Great card.
One of my favorite cards in the set. I mean, Boros. If you drafted Gate Crash, you are well aware of Boros. Viashino First Play. This is one of my favorite cards in the set. It's just, if you're going to get a Boros deck, this is the guy you want to see when you open it up. And then finally, Orzhov, Tithe Drinker. This guy's terrific. He's got Lifelink. He's got Extort. All really nice cards that fit into existing aggressive strategies that we saw in either Gate Crash or Return to Ravnica.
So, you've got cards there that are aggressive. What about cards that do something about that, maybe? Yeah. So, here we've got the full set in alphabetical order, no preferences here on color. The Gatekeepers. They're all 2/4. If you have 2 gates, they all do a thing. It's 2/4 plus.
Right, and it's important to note that all packs of Dragon's Maze, instead of where there would normally be a basic land, there's either a guild gate or a what people call a shock land. And most commonly it's a guild gate. So there's usually 7 or 8 guild gates in every draft that you have an opportunity to pick, which fit in very well with these. So draw a card, gain 7 life, active treason, make a 2/2 white knight token, or this is my favorite one. Right, I think it's a shame that you put it all the way over here. Ubulsar Gatekeepers. When Ubulsar Gatekeepers enters the battlefield, you get to do -2/-2 to another creature.
Now, all of these guys, 2/4s for 4, Pillar Field Ox, if you will.
Yeah.
So, can I ox you a question? And it's this.
Yeah, I guess you can.
Do any of these make it into block constructed as well as in draft?
I don't know. I kind of like this guy.
The gain 7 life guy?
Yes. Yeah,
Ceruli Gatekeepers.
I kind of like that guy. I know people have been talking about him. One of the things people talked about is how fast the format is. It's like I attack my 2/4 into your 2/4, and then I play my 2/4 and I -2 your 2/4. So there's gonna be a struggle between like these kind of like 5-color like slower decks and the aggressive decks.
Some 2/2/2/1s, sort of. Okay, let's move on, and let's give you cards that are sort of changed value.
Well, again, with so many gates, you know that if you want a gate, you can get it. You have the gates going when you get to that Return to Ravnica pack. Ogre Jailbreaker, always been a solid card, but couldn't always attack. Maybe you had 1 or 2 gates. Maybe you didn't even want the gates in your deck because you didn't want your land drops get screwed up. 4 mana for a 4/4 that can pretty much attack as if it didn't have defender every time. This card's excellent. It was always good. Much better now.
Okay, 7 mana. I'm not worried about all this exciting 4/7.
Yeah, this is all great down here.
7 mana. Is that different now?
Yes, it is. The Primordial Cycle were very, very powerful rares in Gate Crash that were nigh unplayable because the deck, you would just get run over by Wojak Halberdiers and you'd get run over by Cloudfin Raptors, before you even had a chance to whiff 7 mana.
Yeah.
Now format, there's situations where the decks develop a little more slowly. They're still very aggressive decks, but the format does develop a little more slowly. You have a lot more ways to build up your mana, and suddenly cards like this that were, honestly, I never even looked at these cards in my draft.
Sure.
But now, very, much more playable.
Explain this one to me. Voidwalk, 3 in the blue. A lot of people won't have played with this much. Exile target creature, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. Why has this suddenly become good-ish?
So this is a gate crash card that was not super exciting in triple gate crash. But when you look at the packs on either side of it in the draft, when you look at the Selesnya, populate decks that you might see in the first pack, in the Return to Ravnica pack, being able to make a token disappear and never come back, pretty valuable. And then we already saw the gatekeepers that come in the Dragon's Maze pack, and you can do some pretty degenerate stuff with cards that haven't entered the battlefield effect.
Degenerate stuff is good, by the way.
Yeah, I love degenerate stuff.
Okay. That's draft. Let's move on to a few speculations about block constructed. Here we are. You've gone black, green, black, green, black, green. Okay, then.
Dead Chance, a card, I don't know if anyone's going to play this or not, but this is a card, you talk to the dealers, all around the country, this is one of the early cards that people just don't have in stock. It's sold out. It's done very well. It's an exciting card. It's an enchantment. It reminds us a little bit of like Debtor's Knell.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
It puts 10 cards into your graveyard from your library, and then you can like draw cards from there or return cards to play.
Varolz is one of the maze runners. Do you think others will see play in block?
Absolutely. I mean, this guy is just, for reasons we'll get to in a little while, it's a pretty aggressive format, possibly block constructed, and this guy is very efficiently priced, has a pretty big ability, and being able to regenerate is huge.
Okay, we're just going to give one very quick mention. We love the new, but we also love the old, and it turns out Putrefy's quite a good version of the old.
I think this is like also in limited, possibly the card that's the most successful. Like, when you do all your diagrams and charts of how the drafts break down, Putrefy correlates very highly to winning lists. And it's just efficient removal. We're certainly going to see it make a huge splash in constructed.
Okay, let's move on, and we've got a couple of creatures up next. You've got Advent of the Worm, 5/5 Trampler for 4, Aetherling, a 4/5/4, well, theoretically 6 mana, and Voice of Resurgence. Pick one of these to tell people about.
Voice of Resurgence.
Off you go, then.
We've already seen this card make a huge impact in Melirapod decks in Modern. We've seen it played already in Standard. It's just it's possibly one of the best 2/2s ever printed already. Best 2/2s for 2. It just it leaves a body behind when it goes away, makes it difficult for your opponent to do things when they want to do them, which is on your turn. Yep. And it's going to be like one of the most highly sought after cards for this event this weekend.
And watch for people killing their own Voice of Resurgence.
I've done that in draft a couple times now.
I am sure you have. But if there is an elephant in the room in block constructed, it may be represented by these cards coming up now. Let's take a look. What have we got? 1 red drop, 2 red drop, 2 red drop. Patrick Sullivan, are you paying attention?
Yeah, mono red has been doing super well in the daily events on Magic Online, and really what you're seeing is people, opening on a Foundry Street Denizen, turn 2, play a Burning Tree Emissary into a Firefist Striker, attack for 3 with my Foundry Street Denizen. You get to top out with something like, I don't know, Boros Reckoner is still pretty good, isn't it?
I believe it could be, yes.
Yeah, and it's just, like a ton of creatures coming out really early, weird cards like Dyna Charge, suddenly making things very, very troublesome for anyone who stumbles on their mana at all. So this is a deck I've seen people compare to Dredge.
Oh, really?
Like, how much space do you need to dedicate? Can you afford to dedicate to it in your sideboard?
Right.
Will other people do the hunting for you? Will other people knock mono right out? I think there's a huge metagame decision that people are making as far as their sideboards
with red at the center.
With red at the center. This is a card that's on everybody's mind.
Okay. Who is everybody, though? It's 435 players, divided up from 52 qualifying countries, had proto qualifiers this time around. But we are seeing, BDM, you're the historian, the rise of the super team once again. Channel Fireball, the model, but now a ton of teams coming to the party.
Sure, it started with Channel Fireball. Luis Scott Vargas, right around Pro Tour Kyoto, where they kind of came out and, have really demonstrated this, made this template for how you can be successful, putting in hard work, getting to the city that you're going to be playing in beforehand, and spending time there, and really being around each other constantly, talking, thinking, practicing for the format. So let's take a look at some of the teams that are going to be here. Follow this model.
Champion, Alexander Hayne.
Block constructed Pro Tour champion, by the way.
Indeed.
Very, very well worth mentioning.
And there you see the list of the players on his team, as it were. Su Qing Kuo, Shi Qianli, and also Hao Shan Huang. They were very much in the running for World Magic Cup
Former
slots.
Rookie of the Year, Matthias Hunt.
Hunt, great team. Let's move on. Who have we got next? One of the big two. Team StarCityGames.com. This man, rather famous.
This team has more Hall of Famers on the team than other teams have people with Pro Tour top 8s on them.
Yeah, this of course is John Finkel, arguably the greatest player of all time. Just look at this list. There's a Hall of Famer, Bob Marr, Danny
Hall of Famer,
Gabriel Nassif.
Hall of Famer,
yeah,
Hall of Famer.
On you go. Future Hall of Famer.
Hall of Famer,
yeah.
Player of the Year.
Yeah.
It's Hall of Famer.
Yeah, Tom Martell, the last champion. Phenomenal team. But what about the originals? Let's take a look at the kind of the new modern team format is built around this man, Louis Scott Vargas, and Team Channel Fireball. There's the list.
Ben Stark, we just saw him get his 4th Pro Tour top 8. Brian Kibler in the Hall of Fame. Brock Parker returning to the scene of the Pro Tour.
Won Grand Prix Pittsburgh recently.
Jerry Thompson had his breakout finish. 2 new players on the team worth mentioning. Matt Nash, Shahar Shanhar, formerly of Team Panic. Don't panic, they're on Channel Fireball now.
As a by the by, 7 of these could be Player of the Year on Sunday.
Yeah, it's kind of insane.
Let's move on. Next up, the Northern Planeswalker Alliance. They must sell insurance. But here you have, this is Sean McLaren from the Magic Online Championship Series, Arsenal Munch. You'll have seen him. And it's basically a Canadian group
We've
for
talked
the
a
most
lot
part.
about the resurgent Canadian Magic scene. And, mostly that's centered around Mana Deprived. But there's actually been enough of a resurgence that we have 2 teams now.
Yeah, I think Maxim Grin is very, very good. He was in the team that finished 2nd at the Team Pro Tour in San Jose.
Very impressed with Sean McLaren myself, too.
Sure, a really good bunch. Wilson Gone Wild.
This is a big team.
It's a big team, but look, this guy Jacob Wilson, never mind that he's only 18 and probably not old enough to run wild. If you know this guy, I don't think he does a lot of going wild.
Grand Prix Chicago champion. Grand Prix Strasbourg runner-up.
That's right, came across to Europe in search of points and found them. And then, of course, you've got Nico Christensen here, who won Grand Prix Quebec City in about 3 turns.
Sam Pardee just won a Grand Prix Modern Master.
In Portland.
Just something I noticed on this team, a lot of Pro Tour top 16s. This is a team I would look to see someone have a breakout finish.
To move to the next level.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Dan Jordan or Dave Shields or Jacob Wilson or Jesse Hampton already has a couple
Indeed.
strong finishes.
All right, on we go. That's Wilson Gone Wild, and this is Team ROURIX. This is basically this man, Willie Adel, 49 points from Brazil, amazing season, with about 28 Brazilians with him, or maybe 5. Let's move on. And who have we got next? It's Team Luxurious Hair. This is Ari Lax, who's that hair's fairly luxurious, I suppose.
Ari Lax is moved up a couple spots on the list of players with the most pro points without a top 8.
Finished 9th in Seattle.
Finished 9th in Seattle, but this is someone that when he gets his Pro Tour top 8, it'll be like about time.
Yeah.
Not surprised.
Watch out for 17-year-old Joe Demestrio. I mentioned him for Rookie of the Year before he finished 2nd at Grand Prix Portland, thus putting him right into the race.
And Craig Wesco, just consistently
Platinum
strong
Pro.
finisher every year.
Absolutely. Next, what do we got? It is Team TCG Player, and this is Raf Levy, Hall of Famer, the man who's played more Pro Tour Magic than anyone. There's the rest of his team.
Breakout finisher from Pro Tour Gatecrash, Melissa DeTora.
Looking to follow winner, a lot of French players there.
Roberto Gonzalez, top 16 at Pro Tour Gatecrash, finished 9th.
He was 9th, wasn't he? Absolutely. Yeah. So, again, yet another very solid team. One more team to tell you. What's the name?
The as of yet untitled European project.
But wait, this is Kai Buddha.
Yes.
What's he doing on this list?
Well, he is arguably either the 1st or 2nd best player, depending on whether you ask him or John Finkel. That question. He's working with the Europeans. Just great players. Matej Zadelkai, Robert Jurkovic, Stanislav Sivka, the Czech team, Ivan Flock, Andre Mueller, other German players.
Austrians,
just
as well.
Pulling together, Europeans' best players. And again, following the template set out by Channel Fireball.
So, what are they playing for? A Pro Tour title, but 19 players could be Player of the Year. Let's leave you with this slide showing you who's in the box seat. It's Yuya Watanabe, 62 pro points, right the way down. Stark, Utterlayton, Martel, Shahar, Eric Froelich, Adel of Brazil, we've mentioned already, Ochoa, Nakamura, Sifka on 48.
Yuza, Turtenwald, Kibler, Li Shi Tian, Tzu Ching Kuo, Jerry Thompson, Reed Duke, Conley Woods, and Samuel Estradi. You explained to him what he needs to do to make the Player of the Year, and he was like, oh, that sounds easy.
Yeah, just win the Pro Tour and have 78 other things happen. All those 78 things happen, we'll tell you about them as they happen right here on magicthegathering.com. Can't wait to share the end of season, 3 days of mayhem with you here at Pro Tour Dragons Maze. Brian David-Marshall, Rich Hagon, bye.